Welcome to the Whiskey and Wisdom Podcast, coming to you from the Cargo District Recording Studios in Wilmington, North Carolina, where we discuss the most fascinating topics of life. I'm Tyler Yaw with my co-host, Chris Keller, and each week we interview a special guest to learn how they acquired their wisdom over a glass of whiskey. So, sit back, pour yourself a glass, and enjoy Whiskey and Wisdom.
Welcome back, you guys, to the podcast. This week, we're doing a fun fireside chat with my awesome father-in-law, Mr. Jeff Church.
Hey, everybody.
Thank you for coming on.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So we're calling it a fireside chat. You know, it's kind of like a little fire, just a quick little chat. We also don't have any electricity or lights in the building. So we got a little lamp going on, just a little vibe. So it's a little bit more casual.
Little chill, little casual. It'll be fun.
But this week, because Jeff doesn't drink, we've reached out to Spiritless, which is a non-alcoholic company that makes drinks that are bourbon alternatives.
Yeah.
I think this one is called Kentucky 74. They also make a tequila that just came out. Tequila,
I saw that too, yeah.
which is kind of cool. So we're checking them out because they aren't alcohol. They don't have the same exact finish, but sniffing the thing, they definitely have some like caramel scents. Like you can
definitely
smell
get those sweeter tones for sure.
Yeah, but I'm excited. I think this will be a little bit more of a mix into your cocktails kind of drink. And we might end up using it when one of us starts 75 hard again.
I decided we're both going to start in August.
I knew he was going to do that to me.
And then we'll finish right before my birthday.
Oh, true. All right, we'll figure it out. Well,
all right, let's give it a try. Cheers. That is interesting. The first thing for me, just for trying so many whiskeys, you don't get the burn.
no, not at all.
And I think that kind of throws it off more than anything. But for me, there's like a little bit of a licorice, a little bit of a cola type of taste to it.
Mm-hmm. So this would be good mixed. Like if you're used to drinking like a bourbon and cola.
Yeah.
Or like a whiskey Coke.
I think mixing with something will definitely help you just because it is a little bit sweeter.
Yeah. I mean, we're drinking it on ice, so.
Yeah.
But yeah. Something a little bit different for us. Mix it up. But like I said, this week we have...
Chris is dying over here.
I think his was a little stronger.
Yeah. he makes a little bit of real bourbon in there.
No, I wouldn't. But like I said, we brought on Jeff Church, who is currently an assistant superintendent in his home county. Is it the county?
Mm-hmm. Caldwell County Schools.
But you're also moving along.
Mm-hmm. I am.
So where are you going next?
I will be with the city of Lenore.
Okay.
Beginning August 8th.
Oh, well, what are you going to be doing for them?
I'll be the operations manager for public utilities.
Oh, okay.
Water and sewer department.
Yeah.
That's one heck of a change.
So it's a little different. Ready for a different hat.
Yeah. But it's kind of funny. We were driving past the sewage treatment plant here in Wilmington.
Yeah.
And he was like, hey, I'll be doing that. I was like, I hope you don't smell like that every day. That'd be so painful.
The perpetual fart flame?
Yes.
Yes.
I was like, ooh. And then I thought about How I Met Your Mother. And that technically, I live in Doa Tree Play. Downwind of the sewer treatment plant.
Oh, yeah.
But I've always wondered this because I'm just one of those people. And my mom was a teacher. You started as a teacher, right?
I did.
How do you go from a teacher to a superintendent or assistant superintendent?
Takes time. I taught your mom is exceptional children special ed, isn't she?
No, she is. This year, I think she's just straight fifth grade.
Straight fifth grade.
Yeah.
I was exceptional children, taught special ed at the high school level.
Okay.
And after, I don't know, my 6th year, 5th year, 7th year, 8th year, something like that, I decided to go back into administration. I was going to be a high school principal. And ultimately, I've been thinking through that as I'm thinking through the end of my career now. I remember sitting at the high school and somebody said, what do you want to do when you grow up? And I said, I want this job, the job that I have now. And so that was probably 15 years before I got it. And so
That's cool.
you go back to school, get your master's in administration, and you become an assistant principal. And then I became a principal and then became assistant superintendent, now associate superintendent.
So a couple different questions.
And to get your superintendent license, you need to have your doctorate. So I did go back with Gardner Webb to get my doctorate as well in school administration.
I don't know if I can be that's a lot of papers.
It's a lot of papers.
Yeah.
And one big one at the end.
Mm-hmm. What was your dissertation on?
It was on writing and the effectiveness of the current of writing, 7th grade writing.
Oh, that's interesting. So when you say effectiveness, what do you mean by that?
There was a writing program that we were doing at our school, and I studied it to determine if it was actually effective in teaching writing skills. As we turned out, it was effective in giving the teachers confidence in what they're doing. So than the program itself. So it was good. It was good work.
Yeah, that's neat.
So you were an assistant principal.
Mm-hmm.
Was that for high school or middle school?
It was for high school.
Okay.
In the same school that I was teaching.
Oh.
And that was interesting. That doesn't happen a lot. And I was an assistant principal for just about a year, and then became my first principalship was at our local alternative school, high school alternative school.
Mm. All right.
And then I was there for a year, and then spent 6 years at the middle school that I grew up in and that I went to. And you could look across the football field and see mom and dad's house, the house that I grew up in. So just all one small community.
Yeah.
It's very interesting.
Yeah, I didn't realize that. Like I've been to his grandma's house, his mom's house.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And looked, and never thought, oh, hey, between those trees, there's the school.
What was interesting, a lot of the parents of the students there, it was Hudson Middle School, where the parents were schoolmates of mine growing up. Mm. So that's very important. Anytime you're in a leadership position, you work hard in building trust and building those relationships. So that really helped me because I already had a lot of those relationships.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of like that. It was really funny because he apparently was the principal at the school when Emily was there.
I was.
Oh, really?
I was.
And I was like, man, I wonder how awkward that would be.
She hated it.
Did she get teased a lot because of it?
She always, her sister Katie, our youngest daughter, I was principal there as well, her 6th grade year. And Emily did not want to be known as the principal's daughter, and Katie wanted to use it for her advantage. So
right.
Two differences.
Yeah. That's so funny.
That really showcases just them in general now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they're both very they do things, they get to the same point, but in very different ways.
They do.
Which is kind of funny. Superintendent wise, because I am a normal person and all I hear is superintendent, I'm like, I didn't know there were different levels.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
what is either. What's the difference between, you said you were an associate
and
an assistant? What's the difference between those two?
The title.
Oh, okay.
In essence, in our school district, we have the superintendent who is the top. He's the superintendent. We have an associate superintendent, which is me, over auxiliary services, which is operations, which ties into my next career going in. I'm getting ready to go into, ties into that. And then we have a superintendent, an assistant superintendent over human resources, and then one over curriculum as well.
Okay. So instead of the one person being in charge of everything, you kind of
branch out. Yeah.
Okay.
And then underneath me, I have a maintenance director, transportation director, wraparound director, technology director, and child nutrition director.
Jeez.
Underneath me. So,
gosh, that is crazy.
Yeah, you never think about how a actual full school district works until you.
Right. Yes, there's a lot more to it than just a classroom.
Right. Yeah. I think classroom, sports, and buses.
Yeah.
You don't think of all the other stuff that goes into that.
We're all the nuts and bolts that all the day-to-day operations to make it happen.
Right.
Yeah. We've been up there a couple of times. We went up there in Florence, and it was ridiculous because he was sitting there. It's like, well, I gotta check the weather and make sure, because he was the one. I know because you called out school, didn't you?
I do. Well, did. Yeah. At the end of this month, I did.
I think that's just cool. like
It's part of my responsibilities, weather calls.
So he's the guy who you could have blamed.
Right.
That's right.
When you didn't get those snow days.
That's right. Half the people were happy, half the people were mad.
Yeah.
So.
Only a 2-hour delay.
I know.
I was like, I just thought it was a weather forecaster that called it. I didn't know it was a person who was like, this is probably not a safe trip.
It was funny because where I was from in PA, there was a superintendent for each school district, not just for the whole county. So I literally, where mine was, is I had my school district and I could ride my bike to the next high school. And so they might have like a 2-hour delay and ours would be canceled or vice versa.
Right.
So like if ours was canceled, I'd be like, I'll take that Central. And then, the next week they got too much flack for the other side. And then my side got too much flack for the other. So then it would flip flop. So it was just funny that you could tell that there was that like internal battle going on with it.
I think I just never thought about that because New Hanover County is so small. And I'm like, it's rain. Someone called it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
New Hanover County is also really long though, because Ashley would be like, for my sister, for instance, they called a snow day one time and it was like 60 degrees outside, but like somewhere like close to Pender County was getting snow or a thought of snow.
Yep. I remember getting ice up there.
Yeah.
It was a pain. But we did mention your two daughters because one, we haven't had too many fathers on here. Well, no, we've had a handful. Now that I think about it, at least 3.
Yeah.
But because Tyler, my main host over here, actually, his wife just had a daughter a couple months ago. I figured we would ask you a few questions.
Okay.
As to
how old is your daughter?
I have a little over 2-month-old daughter, and then I have a nearly 2-year-old son.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
All right.
Isn't it like 3 weeks away from recording?
From recording, it's about 3 weeks away. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So, because I know you are a very family-oriented man, and you're definitely involved in your church as well. Do you think that is something that has helped you when it comes to raising your children?
Oh, absolutely.
Was it just taking them to church all the time, or do you think like being around a group of people that helped you? Because I know everyone has like a concept of like, do I need to do it by myself? Or
Right. You are who you associate yourself with.
Right.
So a lot of raising your children. I mean, number one, you need to be there. And as a father, as a young father, whatever you need to do, make sure you're there for your children. And ours, Emily is 30, and Katie's she just turned 26. So, they're grown now. Both of them are married, of course. One's married to you, Chris. And thank you for taking her, by the way. Kidding, just kidding, Emily. But no, you need to make sure you need to be there. And I know career choice wise, I made sure that whatever I was doing as a career, that I was there as much as I could be. And as a principal, there were times that I couldn't be there. Work. You have to do what you do to put food on the table. But I always told my teachers, and I still tell my staff now, family comes first, and you have to practice that. And you have to be the person. You have to be that example. And I hope that I was able to do that as a dad. I hope the daughters would say that.
I mean, I think you did a pretty good job.
Well, thank you.
Clearly.
I got a good one.
Yes, you do. One of the things as a dad you want for your children, especially daughters, is you prepare them, you get them ready to go off to school. I remember having a conversation with Emily as a high school senior about school and about leaving, because we live in the foothills. We're about 5 hours from here in Wilmington. And Emily decided she wanted to go. I said, you can go to school wherever you want to go, but it needs to be in the state. So 5 more miles and she would have been in the ocean. So she came to Wilmington and has been here ever since. And this is home, and it's a wonderful home for her. But I remember having a conversation with her in her bedroom about how I felt like she was ready, just with her personality and her just her, and that she was ready for this next step. And she's really made us proud. But you always want for your children, you always want them, if your daughters, you want them to pick good husbands, or good husbands pick them and have that good match. Mm-hmm. And we're fortunate with that. And I tell a lot of people a lot of things, and I don't blow smoke, and I don't just say things just to be saying them. But we are very, very blessed with two son-in-laws with the two that we have. Katie got married first in September, and Trey, her husband, is a wonderful person, wonderful husband, just a perfect match for Katie. And we're very blessed with that. You asked for advice. I would advise, Katie got married in September. Emily got married in March. I strongly suggest you don't have $2 and they get married 6 months apart.
That is very good advice.
But then, Emily is married Chris. And just tell you something about Chris for the audience here. We spent the day at the beach at Wrightsville Beach, and it's kind of neat for us to go to the ocean. Is 5.5, 6 hours away. Mm-hmm. For being here in Wilmington, it's 15 minutes away, and that was kind of cool. But we were in a local pharmacy, and we were standing there at the self checkout, and there was a lady who was having trouble with her card working. Mm-hmm. And it turned out it was the machine, but Chris sitting over here, he steps aside, he steps over, and he puts his card in the slot to pay for this lady's product, whatever she was buying. And that's just a testament of you. And I appreciate that's the type of person you are. And I appreciate that. As a dad, that makes me proud that my daughter's married somebody like you. That means a lot.
Thank you.
Chris is a good guy.
I will note, I did not know where her tab was when I did that. And then I got in the car and I was like, whew.
I know.
Because I went and I was like, I'm sure she didn't really have anything crazy. And I put my card in there, and then I was like, wait. Like, if this is it's CVS, so it can't be that crazy. But, man.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, I try and be a good person some days.
Nah, you're a good person. That's why we brought you on.
Yeah.
So what would you say is the most difficult part of being a father?
First time either Trey or Chris comes and takes your daughter out for their first date. And just having or whoever the boy is, having them turn over to, turn your children over to their future husband. And that's difficult in the beginning, but then as you build those relationships, it's wonderful. It's great.
Yeah.
But you always have those concerns with your daughters. You just want them to have just a good husband, good family.
Yeah. This is kind of like a loaded question, but what would you say is your favorite kind of stage of life? Because I know there's benefits to, and maybe downsides to all of them, but what was one that especially sticks out in your mind?
When we were at the beach today, a friend of Emily and Chris was there, and her daughters were 10 and 6, I believe, or getting ready to be 10 and 6, but they're that age.
Yeah.
When they're still little, and Daddy's still the hero, and Mama's still the hero.
Right.
And we were talking about our girls, and here I'm gonna get myself in trouble. I've been married to Lynn for 33 years now, and so we celebrated our 33rd anniversary back in June. So been pretty blessed with Lynn. She's my best friend.
So with that being said, what's the success to a successful marriage of 33 years?
Be flexible.
Yeah.
Be flexible. Be willing to say you're sorry, and be truthful. Be honest.
Right.
It's not rocket science, but it is work. And you can't be complacent. You can't just go through the motions, and you can't just walk through life. You've got to be intentional about your marriage, and you've got to, even like, especially with you at your stage now, the children tend to take up that time, and that's your priority, and that's your focus, and that is important. It's very, very important, raising your children, but you can't raise your children and neglect your wife, or raise your children and neglect your husband. You have to be a team. It has to be a team effort.
It's really neat that you say that too, because Jennifer and I were talking to my mother-in-law, so obviously her mom, and she said exactly the same thing. She said, like, you have these 2 under 2 now. It's going to be a lot. It's going to be stressful, but make sure that you spend time with each other, because it's important to not just neglect your significant other to put it to the kids, but you have to be responsive to your wife or husband, whatever. And I know for you, very similar to me as well, Christianity is a big part of our lives. So how has that played into your marriage and being a father, and how has that helped you?
Christianity, our faith in God is the foundation.
Yeah.
And that is the most important thing in our marriage. And then everything else comes from, and fatherhood and parent and family and everything. But everything stems from our relationship with God. And if you don't have that strong foundation, I don't see how you get through life without that foundation personally.
Yeah.
And because there's a difference between happiness and joy. We strive for happiness is a feeling, it's fleeting. In our relationship, in our family, we try to instill joy. And because we know that's more endearing and it's longer lasting.
That's interesting. I never heard it like that before. I like it.
Me either.
Joy is a lifestyle, and joy is a choice. Even during the difficult times, you can have joyfulness, but you can be happy, mad. You can be angry at each other and still have joy.
Yeah, that's so true. I never thought about that.
Clip it.
I know. I was like, there we go. Got that one.
Because you guys have been married a long time. Mm-hmm. You've moved more than once. So
actually, well, twice. only twice.
Gosh, man, you're lucky. I try and ask a silly question.
All right.
So I'm going to ask two. The first one, what is a good advice you have for someone who is moving?
Throw it away.
Amen.
Gosh, I wish I had done that. Like we have plenty of space in this house, but I pull it out and I'm like, man, this is so, no, you don't need it.
Yep.
So it's funny you bring that up now too, because the one thing I was telling Jennifer, because she was like, what if we want another kid? We need a bigger house. And I was like, first of all, no more kids. Second of all, bigger house means more space for more clutter. Mm-hmm. And I was like, honestly, we don't even need the size house that we have now, even with 2 kids. We just have more place for more clutter now.
Right.
And so it's an interesting thought experiment for us, because I don't plan on moving anytime soon. It's just a lot of work. But we're kind of taking that mindset of, if we lived in a house half the size that we have right now, what are we giving away or throwing away? And we're doing that because I think it's important.
I like it.
When we moved this last time, which was 20 some years ago now, we put all the boxes in the basement that weren't open, and I set a date on my calendar. And 6 months from now, if those boxes are still there, I'm not looking. It's leaving. And so we ended up doing that. But by now we have a lot of boxes to take their place. So.
Yeah. I actually found 3 boxes in our garage that hadn't gotten opened since we moved in. And I did the same thing too. And I was like, you know what? I haven't opened it yet. Trash.
Yeah, you've been there for well over 2 years.
Yeah, because I moved right when I started at my current job.
Yeah.
Which is about almost 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Actually, next month. Next month, 3 years.
We only worked together for 2 years. 2-ish years.
Why does it feel so much longer than that? I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
No, gosh, man. Retail, that'll get you.
Oh, yeah, well.
All right, so my real silly question is, if you were an animal, what would you be? Tyler, this is to you too. I got away from it. I love my silly questions, so I'm bringing it back.
Wow.
See?
Good question.
Making everyone think.
Mm-hmm.
So...
A monkey.
What kind? You're just saying a monkey? A chimpanzee? A orangutan?
A gorilla.
Okay. Why?
Because they're big and strong and they can still climb trees. And they know which branches they're going to break.
That has always been a thing I never noticed. What you got?
Elephant.
They never forget.
They never forget. Well, maybe I need to change that. Lynn would say otherwise. They are kind of the gentle giant.
Yeah.
However, if they're threatened, they can take care of business when they're threatened. Mm-hmm. So about the same.
I thought that was kind of cool. Just the random question Chris has.
No, wait a minute.
I was going to say, yeah, you can't get away from it now.
An otter.
You otter, give me a good reason why.
I didn't see that coming.
No, they have a little pouch, like the spot where they can store stuff on them. I think it's kind of cool.
So do kangaroos.
Yeah. The kangaroos are mean.
Fair.
And they live in Australia. Do you imagine all the stuff you got to fight in Australia?
That's true. That's why they have to be jacked.
Yeah. But otters typically live in closer to the shore, so less predators, but they're mostly like family oriented people. I thought about saying like an orca, but those guys are mean.
Yeah.
It's just, I've seen some videos. I'm like, man, we thought they were so cool. No, man, you don't mess with those guys. That's what I'm here for, is just to come up with the random questions and throw everybody off.
For our fireside chat.
Because no one else really knows this unless they're from Lenore. How's the banjo?
Well, it's sitting in the closet, not the closet, but sitting in the room. Mm-hmm. Something called COVID came along, and with COVID, when you're in the school system, and along with everywhere else in the world, you are slammed dealing with COVID. Excuse me. And so we've dealt with that for however long we had to deal with it, 2 years, and then something called 2 daughters getting married, and I just haven't got out of practice, and I haven't picked it back up. But it's in my mind constantly.
See? Yeah, no, the first time I went up there, he was playing his banjo. We even took a trip. Did you pick up a banjo on that trip? When you went to Asheville?
I probably looked at one.
For
I
Lynn.
looked at one.
You were looking at getting a
looking
second
at something. Yeah. That was my excuse to get a second one.
Yeah. There. But he lives, like, his neighborhood is nice and spacious. So you're not like sitting like Wilmington, you're spending so much money if you want to not look into your neighbor's bathroom.
Yeah.
Right.
But you actually have like space around it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so fun to like walk out and hear him just like do do do. And he doesn't do that. Do 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 do.
Yeah, I could do that.
I hope so. Was that the first thing you learned?
Cripple Creek was the first one that I learned.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
What was that?
I have to play it next time you're up. I'll play it.
Do you know what it is?
I couldn't do it, but I've heard it before.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't. It's just like, oh, this. I say that sometimes. I have no idea what people are talking about.
No, I'm definitely kind of, that's the one thing about Chris and I, they're very similar, that we know a little about a lot.
Yes.
So we were familiar with a lot of things, but like, couldn't like give you a dissertation on it.
Right.
That's what we have you for.
That's right.
So now I'm going to spin it back around. Your new job. What made you decide for this like change?
I'm at the point in my career, I've got 32 and a half years with the school system.
Oh,
so when you're in public ed, you can retire with full benefits at 30 years. Mm-hmm. And so when you get to that point, it's time to start looking for what's next, because I'm still fairly young, and what am I going to do next? And when you retire, when you're in a position, you want to leave when you're ahead, and you want to leave when you're still effective. And I feel like you want to leave when you still love what you do, because I feel like the best job in our school system. I love operations, and I love what I do. And I've got a wonderful staff that we work with, and just a wonderful cabinet. It's just kind of magical what we have. But you need to look for a fit. And I'm all the time working with municipalities throughout the county, with all of our local municipalities. And as I'm looking for the next step, I'm at the stage in my career that I'm working because I want to work, not because I have to work. Mm-hmm. And I'm looking for a fit. And one of the city of Lenore's where I'll be working, they pride themselves on customer service, and that's what draws me to the city of Lenore, because of that customer service and because of the relationship that we've had over the years. It's going to be a wonderful fit, and it's something different.
Yeah.
That's neat that you say that too, because growing up, I've done different mixed martial arts and wrestling and jiu-jitsu and all kind of stuff. And one of the big things in the like MMA community, especially, is on kind of a different spectrum, is you have a very short kind of career in that that kind of career. And it's all about like, when are you going to leave?
Right.
And of course, everyone wants to leave like when you're right on top. So one of like the legends of the the UFC, Donald Cowboy Cerrone, just retired last week. And what he said during his kind of like exit interview with Joe Rogan was like, hey, why are you putting your gloves in the ring? Like, what's making you retire? And he said, I just don't love it anymore. Mm-hmm. And you could tell that his love for the sport was dropping just in the way that he was performing. You could just tell his performance wasn't completely there. So I find it extremely admirable to know when you're kind of at your peak and knowing that it's time to move on, because there's a lot of people that just hold on into dear life for the very last bit of it, even when they fall out of love with for it. So I think it's amazing that you kind of know, like, hey, I've accomplished what I need to accomplish here. It's time to start the next chapter.
And I'm leaving it in a good shape too. We don't have enough time. I mean, I could go for the next hour of the projects that we're wrapping up and the projects that we've got on the horizons to make the school system, our current school system, even better than what it is. And so, we're leaving it in. It's going to be left in good hands for the next person to pick up and carry the ball.
So did you have a kind of a say or a role in who's going to be taking your position then?
A little bit, however, it's not been announced.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So the main reason why I asked was part of your job kind of like grooming the next person to come up for that, or is it completely out of?
No, it will be. As of this recording, they should be announced within the next week. So Monday after this recording. And so we'll be spending about 3 weeks together.
Oh, that's awesome.
Getting ready.
So wait, the 11th?
The 11th, yeah.
All right, so who is it?
I can't tell you.
No, this doesn't come out until the 20th.
But if I told you, I'd have to kill you.
I was trying.
And I've not had a whole lot to do with that. I've had a little bit of input, but I think it's more important. It's one of my pet peeves if you try to name your own replacement. That's because who you're leaving is looking for the right fit also.
Yeah.
But I like that at least you're not the person, because I know I've seen it in like sports too, where they're like, oh, well, he needs to take my place. But the problem is that person is exactly like them. And most of the time when someone's leaving, they need someone who's a little bit different to like fill the shoes. Because I know you're great. Like I've seen you at work. You do a great job.
Thank you.
But understand that I feel like your replacement should be a little different.
Of course. Absolutely. I agree with that 100%. And my role has been more, I'll answer questions if I'm asked, but I don't go out of my way to give input.
So since we talked so in depth before the podcast about my last question and how it tends to get extremely long, let's jump into that so we can stay on task. So if you were to tell the younger version of yourself anything, what would it be?
Actually, I've been thinking about that today.
Yeah.
And you big dummy, when you're girls and you and your wife, when they get up old enough to start going to the beach and go out on the ocean and play all day long, buy a tent or buy an umbrella, because with us, part of what I did as a classroom teacher and even as an assistant principal, I would do commercial construction work during the summertime, which prepared me for the job that I'm doing now. And I'd have to give my thanks to my dad for that. He probably has prepared me for what I'm currently doing more than anything, because I had the construction background also. But at that time, I'm out in the sun all day long in the summertime. And so while the girls were out at the beach, I was in the air conditioning and then thinking through, and the same thing for you young guys, when that time comes, don't give up that time with your family. And as I'm sitting there watching the girls play, I'm thinking, God, why didn't we? My Father's Day present from Chris, Emily, Trey, Katie, and Lynn was a Shibumi. Did I say it right?
I think so.
Anyway, so that was pretty cool. We got to play with that today for the first time, and that was interesting. But it's just fun to have the shade and just be out there at the ocean. So younger self, go ahead, spend a little bit of money and get you some shade and go out there with them. Yeah. Spend that time with them.
Yeah, that's neat.
Which is kind of cool. There's so many different like shade options out there.
So is that Shibumi thing? Is that the one that's like for lack of a better term, which is a really big flag?
Yes. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
That's what I said. There's different options. So you got to know what you're going for. If you're going to the beach by yourself with multiple kids, I personally think a Shibumi is probably a really great idea. So you can get a little bit of shade, You can still see the kids because it doesn't block off a lot of your peripherals, and you can put it up like pretty easily as a single person. But if you need something that's stable because you got a baby or something like that and you don't want to move it, then we saw this little
Canopy?
cabana.
Yeah, that's
It's like a
pretty
cool
too.
cabana. That's what it's called.
Okay.
So like it's pretty much like an umbrella that went out and then the arms went down and they just put sand in them so it doesn't flop away. And I'm like, that's a good idea
That's
if
neat.
you have a kid. Because I see these people with these umbrella looking things.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you have no air in that. You are probably sweating so bad and that kid is dehydrated. But I feel like the cabana thing would also be kind of easy to do because
Yeah.
umbrellas are the worst.
Yeah.
We had a 12 by 12 tent that weighed 50 pounds.
Yes.
And it was like, wow, it's hard to get to the beach and back.
I remember when I was little, we would go to the beach once a year with like a bunch of families. And it was all of those kind of tent things that you have to like
Yeah,
have
the
4
full-
people like
Right.
put it and everything. And there would be like 3 or 4 families out there. So we would have like a tent city of those just all lined up. And kind of to your point too, that like if the wind wasn't blowing in your direction, it was just a humid mess.
Yes. But yeah, because we're trying something new with our fireside chats, we're bringing this one to an end. But I would love to thank my father-in-law, Jeff Church.
Yeah. Thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you for the invite.
Traveled all this way.
Came all the way down here just for the podcast.
I figured it had nothing to do with your daughter at all.
Had
I'm
nothing
sure.
to do with Emily or Chris.
Is there anything that you would like to shout out, like for people to follow? Like, do you want to follow your church? You want to follow him your social media? I don't really think he's on social that much.
I'm not much on social. No.
Good for you. It's one thing I wish I could get away from, but unfortunately, with what Chris and I are doing,
You
kinda-
about
it is a
have to.
necessity. Yeah, necessity.
That's right.
It's all good, which means you guys should definitely follow us on our social medias.
What a segue.
Yeah, because we're always in the show notes or being tagged somewhere for Whiskey and Wisdom. But check
And
it
let
out.
us know how you like the shorter version of our podcast too. I've been wondering if we should cut it down or keep it
Yeah,
super
or-
long like we've been doing.
Yeah. So please leave a comment when you listen to this. Drop a comment on. I don't know if you can comment on Spotify.
I don't think so yet. They're working on it, but you can comment on our Instagram, which is where I definitely appreciate it because that's where I'm at all the time.
Yes, or TikTok.
You can comment on TikTok if you want.
Sorry, that's an inside joke. But yeah, definitely.
And say
Leave a
nice
comment.
things. And say
Yes.
nice things.
Right.
See?
Yes.
Him and my mom were raised the same.
Mm-hmm.
If you ain't got nothing nice to say, don't say it at all.
Be kind. We need a lot of kindness in the world right now.
Yes.
Agreed.
Enjoy. But we are still here to be kind to you guys and help you save a little bit of money. So we still have a partnership with Bones Coffee, a local coffee company that will ship coffee directly to your door. Use code WISDOM, WISDOM. Save you some money and we'll ship it straight to your door. If you like funky coffee and regular coffee, check them out. And if you're like me and don't drink coffee at all, check out Raise Energy. Same code WISDOM. Saves you 15%. That one I know off the top of my head. But yeah, definitely check them out. And we will hopefully see you guys in the next one.
Thanks so much for listening. Thank you again for coming on. Cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you, guys.
Chris is just breaking our studio.
Chris just fell.
I'm just
He didn't get hurt, Emily.